Are you ready to continue growing in 2024? Join me, Jessica Holly, at the Learning Yourself workshop from Tuesday through Thursday, March 26th through the 28th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. each night, where we will use the power of the Flight Assessment 2.0 to identify your limitations as well as learn how to use your superpowers. We'll show you those strengths that will help you to get to building your vision. See you there. Your circle will change as you accomplish your goals and level up. Everybody can't go. And we live. Welcome and happy Wednesday for another Everybody Can't Go Convo. And today I have for you guys a musical artist coming off the East Coast. I'm going to let him know. Well, no, I'm going to let him let y'all know where he repping because, you know, it depends on which side of the river. But that ain't my business. Being from the DNR, I'm going to mind my business. I'm going to let him do that East Coast thing and tell y'all all about it. Today, I'm bringing you guys Mr. Parisama. This is one of my peers from the UOU Mastermind and also a musical artist. So, Paris, thank you for coming on with us. How are things going?
Hey, what's up? Thanks for having me. Things is going good. Things is going good. First and foremost, everybody else who's viewing in, who's watching, I go by the name of Paris Sam, as she said. I'm an artist. I'm here in New Jersey right now, but I was born and raised in New York. A few years of my life also in Philadelphia, and now I'm in New Jersey, away from the noise, being able to recollect myself, and still on the road to becoming the best version of myself. Shout out to ET and the whole UOU community.
Hey, turn up. Now y'all see why I said I'm gonna let him talk about that East Coast thing and I'm gonna mind my Midwest swing, all right? Okay, so my first question that I have for you today is concerning your music. When you first started out as an artist, what inspired your music and what made you start to be an artist in the first place?
Well, in all honesty, that is a good question. In the beginning, I wasn't really an artist, so to say. I started when I was around 16, but as far as music is concerned, that was later. So I jumped from later to 16 to right now, right? And right now, to where I'm at currently, this takes me back to when I first started writing. And this was when I was around a good 3 to 4 years old of age. And I really had no way to explain or express myself. So, as far as me being a writer, that's what evolved me to being a poet, an artist, a musician, and everything else that comes along with it. And I wrote to, because of my past, I didn't really know how to talk to anyone. The only person I knew to talk to was God. So every time I would write, it would be like basically a female has a diary, a male has a journal. And ever since then, I've always written. I've always been a writer, and it evolved to me being an artist that I am today.
Okay, all right, that's what's up. Um, so when you started to have some life experiences and different things, um, we talk about everybody can't go and the different versions of how that happens and how that motto shows up throughout people's lives. Were there ever any times where you say that you wrote in your journal? What kind of social background did you have at the time?
The social background that I had at the time, are you referring to when I was writing in my journal?
Yeah,
Or
when you were writing in that journal, yeah.
Well, when I was writing in my journal, that's when at first as a child it's like, all right, you get sidetracked a lot by a lot of things that entertain you, things that you do for fun. Most of it came when I was like in the bed at nighttime, wake up before school type thing, or even when I was in classrooms, and I was doing my work. I would finish my work because I was always, academically gifted as well. I would finish my work and I would have this chunk of time to, still write. And I'm like, okay, I can write in the back of my notebook. So as far as social things was concerned, at first I was, introverted. I was antisocial. I didn't really want to talk to anyone because there was a certain point in my life where, things were exposed in newspapers, and we can go deeper in deeper in detail with that. So at first, I didn't have no way of expressing that but to write, especially when I was in the newspaper. So when it comes down to like later on, that's when I started to open up because certain kids will, understand where I came from, and that's what helped with my social skills at a certain point in my life.
Okay. And starting to dive into where you came from. So tell us, where did you come from? Like, did you have a urban background, suburban background, rural? Was you raised on a farm?
Right. So I would say rural mixed with urban, because I've been, as when I was a child, my first memories were um pretty traumatic, but being that I was in New York City, it was to, you know, trying to find the right words, right? New York City was where I was born in Manhattan, Mount Sinai Hospital. And as I got older, we were put in the different areas, like like I was in Boston and in New Jersey. So moving around a lot, having to learn how to adapt to certain like people, certain slang, of course, certain way people talk, certain way people use just English language in general. I learned to adapt to all of that. It's like I had no choice
Mm-hmm.
because say for all right, perfect example, right? I'm from New York. I moved down to ATL. My slang and accent is going to be completely different. They're going to tell that I'm from the North.
Mm-hmm.
So as a kid, you pick up on slang and you pick up on accent very quickly. So it was always something different when traveling and going to different places, you know. And as I got older and I learned that adaptability was something that I'm gonna have to get used to doing, it became something where it's like, all right, now I'm used to it. So now I'm going to tell them, like, if when I'm, say for instance, I'm in New York, New York accent is a bit more proper and sharper than being in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. They're more towards like the countryside. They sound more southern
Mm-hmm.
than they do northern. So I would go to, I moved to Philadelphia. Where are you from? They can tell I'm from New York. Some people couldn't. So I would tell them that. So it was always like an exciting experience at the same time as learning how to break out of that introvert characteristic. Because at some points I would choose to be introvert. I would choose to not, be social and not talk as I got older. And it's like I can turn that switch on and off now. Sometimes it worked to my benefit, sometimes it was a disadvantage. So,
Oh,
adaptability was something that I learned to, adjust to and become become well acquainted with it and knowing how to use it.
all right. There was your first nugget right there. Boom. Adaptability. All right. Um, so through the transitions and different things that you had, and as you kind of learn how to be what I call a chameleon, you can adapt in different spaces, and that adaptability that you talked about. How did that inspire you to transition from writing in that book into poetry and being an artist that is more forward facing and more vocal?
Right. So taking me because right now, like I'm running around the halo of Saturn. This is really good for me because being I'm able to reflect from then till now. As I was writing, I would write so much to the point where I started reading it over, like learning myself.
Mhm.
And I've been doing that since I started writing. Maybe when I wasn't all right, from 4 to like 9 years old, maybe not. But like once I hit like 10 and up, I wouldn't read every single thing, but certain things I would read over. And then I noticed that it became a very like creative, expressive way of writing. So I would still write to express myself to get it out because if you hold things in, it's kind of unhealthy. You know, you start bottling things up, you do things you don't want to do. And I'm also um living proof, an example of like everyone has done it. Not, I wouldn't say everyone, but people are familiar when I say don't bleed on the ones who didn't cut you.
Mm-hmm.
So when you hold things in, those kind of reactions happen, those kind of results happen. So there will be times where I wouldn't write and I wouldn't express myself, and those are the results I would get. And when I go back, I wake up the next morning feeling, being put on that guilt trip, and I'm asking myself, why did this happen? I go up it because you're not writing, you're not, releasing all of this how you used to do it, what you're used to. Don't break out of a good habit and turn it into a bad one.
Okay.
So as I started to write again, that's when it started to evolve. I was able to create a very unique way of expressing myself to where people can relate. And then I wasn't really too fond of, sharing how the way I felt. It was really secretive at first because it's like, how the way society treats you. You're a man. You're supposed to, be tough. You're supposed to, hold it in and deal with it. Certain things you can't hold in.
Mm-hmm.
Certain things you have to let out or it'll destroy you internally. So as I started to write more, that's when poetry started to introduce itself to me when I was about 15, 16 years old. And when I started writing poetry and I saw that I can write a poem, and it was a former poet who I met when I was working at Modell's in Philadelphia. He goes by the name of Qatif. His poetic alter ego's name is Eno no Zyro, and backwards, that's One Horizon. And he
Mm-hmm.
explained to me how, the one horizon with the whole poetry thing, like all poets are on one horizon. No one's better than anyone, as far as a poet's, standpoint is concerned. You can see perfect examples. A poet like me who's still in the underground compared to a poet like Ghostface Killer or Talib Kweli or Black Ice, one of my favorite poets of all time. you know I don't see us being better than one another. Yes, they're more popular, of course, you know what I mean, but those are the people who I would listen to and who also motivated me and influenced me in a sense, because I'm my number one influencer. Influence, um being learning how to accept myself and learning that what's inside of my temple is my main responsibility and my duty to produce the music and the art and the poetry and the stories that come out and that I wish to share with the world. And as I, gradually, then, as it became poetry, it was different forms of poetry. It was open mic, it was painting poetry, it was telling a story, it was poetry slam when you get real vigorous and, straightforward and discreet with it, and you slam it, like you bring all those emotions with everything that you can muster up. You could write a 10-page story and turn that 10 page into one poem. You compress it and you deliver it to an audience who is just like staring at you. Everyone is just watching and it's quiet. That is one of the toughest audiences to perform in front of. And that was the first audience that I performed in front of. And I haven't been back to that stage, but boy, is the Samsonite man loading up, getting ready to go back there.
Okay, okay. So we got a little tip of the iceberg there with some of the things that are coming up in the future, based upon your past. I love how that's coming back around full circle for you, and I can't wait to see like this next set of art that you're putting out. Not painting art, but it could be y'all. But the next like turn that you're taking on your journey as an artist. So, with some of the transitions that you've made more recently in your life and in music, what were some of those transitions and what were you expecting as a result of recent transitions that you've made over the past few years?
Right. Now, with this transition that you're talking about for the past few years, I actually wrote something a few days ago where clarity was a subject matter that needed to be inputted in my life in so many areas. That's with my past life not getting the answers that I longed for, that I needed in order for me to, stop making the same mistakes. Clarity as far as my music, as my art and in the direction where I, want to go, wish to go, whether I put that music out or not, the music is being made, it's kept within me. And also me as a, as a man, me as a human being, me as a person becoming the best version of myself. So as far as the transition from the past few years was a sum total of everything that I've bottled up, all of my imperfections, all of my flaws. And I would like to, point it out right now. Hearing Eric Thomas's voice, like I said, shout out to the whole community. Um, there was this thing, there was not this thing. He had an album. I like to call it an album. It's called The Prescription. And the first track struck me harder than anything I've heard in my life, in all honesty. Besides, Eminem and Alicia Keys, shout out to those two. Eminem's my favorite rapper. Alicia Keys is my favorite artist. He said something on that, and it's like it blew my mind away, like from almost from beginning to end, because there was lifelong answers that I needed to find out from my mother and my father, and once I got those and got the truth, everything just sealed the deal. And being that we're talking about that, with the previous questions of you asking about like the past, at first, I wasn't really strong enough to share it. I didn't want to talk about it because when I was young, it kind of put me in a, traumatizing state of mind, in a and humiliated and embarrassing state of mind, because in the newspaper, it was told, to the neighborhood around that time that I was went through foster care, and I was also went through shelter, and there was a lot of things that happened, there. But I am more than grateful, beyond measure. You know, praise God, praise the Most High and divine spirits in the universe, because when it comes down to those type of circumstances that that children go through, some of them don't make it out alive.
That's facts.
Some of them come out the complete opposite of what I came out to be. And like I said, we all have our issues, but I'm very proud of myself that I turned out the way I did, and I made the decisions that I made. And when I got those answers and I seen the chaos and like the mess that was made, and I'm not one to blame anyone, because once upon a time I got sick of hearing people blame other people for their mistakes, and I feel like that is cowardice. You can blame people all you want, but what are you going to do about it after that? If you're going to continue to do the same thing, then who else do you have to blame now?
Mm-hmm.
You have to, move on, find another route, because obviously with that route you chose, you had no business doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And people pay for that. People, suffer. So now we come up to these past few years. Once I knew what I had to do, I ended up, moving to where I'm at right now, where it's just me. No kids, no girlfriend. Yes, of course I date around. Um, no family members, of course, me as a man. It took me, quite a while, if you ask me. Maybe, in a perspective, I should have been done it. But the reason why it did take so long, because I kept acting like, not even acting, let me take that back. I kept listening to people telling me not to care when that's not who I am.
Mm.
And it gave me a setback, because when I tried not to, guess what kept happening? I kept bleeding on people that didn't cut me. And I knew the reason why. Stop
Mm-hmm.
listening to other people and listen to yourself. Listen to your heart, your mind, your body, your spirit, your soul. Listen to your temple. And once I listened to my temple and aligned everything together and got those answers, it took a while, but I'm so happy that I finally got it. Because if I didn't, I would not be where I am now. I would still be sleep on my grandmother's couch somewhere.
That's what's up. And when you mentioned Jersey at first, the thing that stuck out to me the most was that you said to Jersey in the quiet. Now I know, most of us are abreast of the New York, New Jersey thing, but I want to take that a bit deeper, because when you said that, what it made me think of, not just the typical like, oh man, you Jersey, like not just like that whole thing. What it made me think of was, if you've ever visited NYC, for me, any of the boroughs. there is a lot of hustle and bustle. There's a lot of noise. And at one point, when you're driving into and out of the city, depending on, which direction you come from, you start to notice there is it's almost like driving through a tunnel. And as you head out of the city, it literally does like quiet down. And on one of my drives out of NYC, the thing that I thought to myself was, how is it to, not just as a person who lives in New York, how is it that in our lives we have all of this noise in the background, or all of this noise up here that's going on all the time, that we would grow accustomed to, we get used to the point that we may not even realize that we can't even hear ourselves think. And if you can't hear yourself think, how can you hear yourself feel? How can you feel yourself feel if you have grown numb or accustomed to all of the noise and everything in your head? And so when you mentioned move to Jersey in the quiet, it literally took me back to that memory of what it literally sounded like. And then also how I thought of what that physical sound, like literally in the natural, what that physical sound um would be reflective of in our bodies, and how often we can, like, we're so used to it that we tune it out. And how you talked about bleeding onto other people, we cause an implosion in ourselves by having all that noise going on up there. And sometimes really what we need is quiet. And the other thing that you mentioned, some type of release, a form of release, so that you're not just all of that stuff inward. Because the same as once you put too much helium, air, whatever into a balloon and it pops, could you do a bunch of calculations and everything, figure out the exact second that the balloon is going to pop, of course. But we're talking about, if I just hand you the apparatus to blow it up, hand you the balloon, you're going to keep pumping the air into it. We don't know when that thing is going to pop. We can kind of gauge it, like, okay, I'm backing up a little bit, but we don't know the exact moment that it's going to pop. And when that happens for us in our own lives, when you talk about bleeding on other people, sometimes that tipping point, or that straw that broke the camel's back, that last little thing that you just like, we don't always have control over when that comes about, when we leave ourselves in a state of constant noise, 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 noise. Whether it's, and really, I'm not going to say whether it's, because it'd be a combination of external noise and internal noise. So you taking a bunch of external noise in, you got your noise from within, and all of that is just like balled up inside. And it's like, okay, so what are you going to do with it? How are you going to release? Eventually something's got to give. So that was my first impression of you, just talking about New Jersey and the quiet. So with experiencing literally the silence of being in your own space and getting into a place of isolation, how has that worked for you, and what were you expecting when you moved into your time of isolation? What were you expecting to do with the quiet, and then what has happened with the quiet that you got?
Okay. So, when I moved and finally came here in the quiet, the first few months, let me look up this word. The first few months, right? The only thing on my mind was solitude for the greater good,
Mm.
right? Solitude definition: the state or situation of being alone. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely.
Boom.
You get me? I wasn't lonely. I've been around family, friends all of my life. I've never, this is something that I wanted more than anything. And this is where I need to get up and do something real quick.
I'm watching in real time with y'all. Look, I want to know what he about to do too, what he about
And
to
this is,
grab.
and I do this because it's like, and I'm here to say this today, that most people say they want something, but they don't want it bad. They just kind of want it. When you get to the point where all you want to do is succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you'll be successful. When you get to the point where all you want to do is get away from the noise and be alone in solitude for the greater good, then you'll be alone in solitude for the greater good.
Okay.
E.T. got in my head so much with that album and with that first video that I saw it first on someone like a football player. I'm not. I think it was LeBron James, and then I looked it up again because I wanted to see, I wanted to hear it again. I didn't know who ET was. I didn't get introduced into ET until I was around 24, 25 years old, and that's when I had the spinal cancer. And my uncle showed me him, and he saw the things that we were going through. And my uncle knows more than anyone how much I was suffering with issues inside that I was going through with my father and my mother in my past, and being in foster care and being in the shelter system and child abuse and being and having to witness child abuse, and them having my younger brother in the bathroom, and all I can do is just stand there and hear screams and look at my hands feeling powerless and cry. I'm not going to go too deep in that, but that's a whole nother for another day. But I just had to get that out in the heat of the moment. So when I'm here and I got all of the answers that I needed and gained the clarity. I'm talking about getting answers from things that I didn't see that people were trying to tell me for so long. I'm talking about putting myself and taking myself off of the guilt trip from all of the wrong things that I've done. But there is a God and the devil is a lie. Because if I wasn't a believer in God, I would not be where I'm at right now, in a much better place, both mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually, all on all scales. And this is what needed to be done. This needed to be done. So when I'm here, the first few months, let me go back to the first sentence. The first few months, the solitude for the greater good, I didn't want anything more than this. And get to my core and finally fix it. Because once upon a time I was at my core broken. And there was no one there to fix me because everybody else was still caught up in their lives. And it's not their fault. And I'm not blaming them. And for a minute, I was on my guilt trip blaming myself because it was like an answer that's right there. So many people don't have their fathers in their lives, and they will do anything to have their fathers in their life. They don't care what they feel. It's better than that empty void. So many people doesn't have their mothers in their lives, and they will give anything to have their mothers in their lives and get those answers that's killing them. Because any kind of feeling is better than that empty void. I have a best friend who doesn't have his mother or father. So guess who I was thinking about every time I thought about talking to my mother and father and getting my answers that I needed to move on in my life? My best friend. So these first few months was solitude for the greater good. But when serenity is great, I'm not going to lie to you. You don't want to be bothered. You see how peaceful it is? You come home, it's silent. The house is clean. There's no noise. There's nothing to bother you. I have my piano. I have my music. If I wanted to watch TV, I don't really watch TV. I can do that. So the first few months, heaven, but there's side effects. You ever heard of cabin fever?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a side effect. And I just got through that a few weeks ago. And the cabin fever wasn't, good. Because on one side of coming home to straight peace and quiet, guess what I started thinking about when I came home? I started thinking about coming home to, my wife, coming home to my kids. But no, I'm coming home and there's nothing here. It's empty.
Mm.
It's just me. So once
Yep.
I got through all of that, that's when the music that I started, writing started to, generate. Started to, poetry started to regenerate. One of the poems I have that I'm working on is called Samsonite Man. It's going to either be called Samsonite Man Revival or Samsonite Man The Outcome. And it's a revision of a poem that I wrote a long time ago, and I finally found it. And now that I can revise it and bring more life to it, and tie it into back then and now, like the Fall Back song that you heard. You would think that I wrote it, a few weeks ago, or when I just, moved here. When I wrote that 3 to 4 years ago, and I'm just finishing my previous body of work because as an artist, I can't progress with my last project being incomplete. Would you agree? If you ran into me and I'm not, I put out an album that had no music videos. Where's his music videos? All right, he has his content out. It's incomplete. It has to be complete. So I had to start over because of bad business decisions that I made with working with certain people. On top of, things that I've done, no one's perfect, but starting over and going this route is the best decision I could have made instead of carrying on and making myself look like a fool and making things being incomplete, me being unprepared. You cannot rush art one step at a time. And that's what I'll live by until the day that I die.
That's what's up. That is everything that you just went through. Super deep, okay, and beyond powerful. So
Thank you.
with you moving forward with finishing what you started, um, the visuals that you chose to add on or complete with your previous album, what did that process look like for you? And how was it, or was there any influence from your time of isolation? Did that have any influence on the visuals that you created for your past album?
Yes, it did. And the last three songs, well, yeah, the last three songs that I made music videos for, those are the three songs that held relevance to this day, especially Fall Back. Because Fall Back, I've even
Definitely.
talked to people before, that I want to be by myself, but I wasn't able to do that due to all of the things that I was going through. So it's like then being that I finally reached that point and me feeling like that for so long, I was able to bring even more life into it because in the video you see that I'm in the jail cell, but that was also symbolic because you don't always have to be in a physical jail cell to be locked up in the inside,
That part.
you know? So that's what I was. So back then, I was, locked in. I was locked up, mentally, like, and that's when, being that I was locked up on the inside internally, heart, mind, spirit, body, and soul, that's when the eruption started getting worse, bottling things in. Like, I want to do this so bad, but I can't. It's like you're trying to move, but you got chains and shackles locked onto you, but they're not boulders. They're attached to a steel wall. You can't move. You have that, you like, here's the wall, here's me walking from that wall, and the chains stop, and that's just as far as I was able to go. So those past 3 to 4 years, it's like, how can I take these chains off? And now that they're finally off and I'm here, that's why I was able to promote and I was able to project the visionary for that video so strongly. Now, when it comes down to play it safe, I even put in-depth descriptions of that video, of that music video with three little videos that I put on my social media. Because I, grew up in these urban neighborhoods. Like I said, I'm from Harlem, East Harlem, West Harlem. I chill in the Bronx still. I still go back, back and forth to this day. But in all honesty, I'm not really a street kid. I'm not you won't catch me outside on a corner or anything. When I was outside, I was going to, music showcases and doing events and poetry slams. And if I wasn't doing that, I was working. And if I wasn't doing that, once upon a time I was with, a group of people who I would just to kind of waste time with. You know what I mean? Like we would talk about things that we would want to do or things that we were, allegedly going to do. But I had to realize that, everybody doesn't have your vision.
That's
You
right.
can't
Your
depend on
vision.
anyone. You can't depend on anyone to make your visions become, you can't depend on anyone to materialize the vision that you see. You have to
Mhm.
materialize that and bring it to life yourself. You know what I mean? So when it came down to play it safe, I basically made that video to explain to everybody, like, the violence that's going on, let's contribute to, putting an end to it. I'm not the first artist who's going to make a song like that. I'm definitely not going to be the last. The fight continues. And then with All My Bros, which was the first video that I made starting off from the album, that video was more of an entertaining, video. And I was also talking to other artists out there at showcases and people who like to go to showcases in the underground. Every showcase that I've been to, I mean, almost 100% of them, we have a great time. You network, you talk to people, you do your music. Hey, follow me this, follow me there. I like this song. This song is good. I'm gonna put this song on my playlist. All my bros was also talking about the things that's going on in our culture too, with police brutality and the criminal justice system. What's the word for it?
Penitentiary.
Penitentiary. Things of that subject matter.
Mm-hmm.
There's some people who still getting wrongfully, incarcerated. Some people, I guess some people deserve it. But it's like I just want to see the best for all my bros. And it's not just for my bros, it's for my sisters too. And I made videos explaining that as well. It's saying all my bros, but all my girls too. Like, I want to see the best for everybody. It don't matter, family, friends. It don't matter how long we haven't been talking. It doesn't matter how long, we don't get along. It doesn't matter if we're not talking anymore. I still wish the best for you. I wish you well. Why would I wish bad upon you? You know what I mean? I'm not a hater. I want to see you succeed. I want to see you live your dreams. I want to see everybody live their dreams. I want to live mine. I'm actually living mine now. 'Cause I feel it. It's right there. All I got to do is keep doing what I'm doing. You know?
That's what's up. That's what's up. Now look, he done took us to church a little bit today, y'all. Like he done took us there. So speaking of your music and the new visuals and everything that you have out, where are some of the places where our viewers can find your videos? Where can they follow you? And where can they find your music?
Okay, for everybody that's watching, you can find my videos on YouTube, of course. You can see snippets of the videos on my Instagram page, my Facebook page, my TikTok page, LinkedIn. I'm still working on that. And on with when it's to the music streaming platforms, you can find me everywhere. Tidal, iTunes, Spotify, uh what's the other one? SoundCloud. I have new music coming up soon. I'm working on an album. I'm thinking about releasing a single, but if that single doesn't have the feature that I want it to have, then I won't release it. The only singles that I will be releasing are singles that will follow an album, because Beyonce is also a big influence on me, properly structuring a body of work, because I don't want to put out a single and then it burn out, and then I put out another single, then it burns out. Where's that body of work where it represents? So my next single that I come out will be of the best quality, up to date, and it will be representing my next either my next mixtape or my next album. So everybody feel free to tune in. I'm a down to earth person. You hit me up on Instagram. I see that you follow me. I follow back. I do not unfollow. That's very important. If I meet you in person, that's a very important key. I'm not one of those people who's going to unfollow you back. And I'm not going to track you either. If you want to follow me, then you unfollow me. But I appreciate all of the love, support, and peace and love to everybody. You know what I mean? And I'm saying that, for future references. When I meet you, I'm going to be saying the same thing when I see you face to face. You know?
And that is a 100% fact. That's exactly what this man said when I met him in real life. We finally met in person off the computer screen in ATL recently, and I can tell you guys that he really is this big warm ball of just positive energy and love and a good hug and everything when you get to this guy in real life as well. Now,
Yeah,
one
I'm a tall
small
guy. I come in peace. I'm 6'2", but I come in peace. Don't worry, everyone.
and he tricked me, y'all. I got there and I thought we was gonna be like the same height, and I'm like, dang, the dude over there looked like Paris, but he tall. And I
Ah!
I looked around for a while, and then I'm like, let me just get a little bit closer, an inch over here. Then when I heard his voice, I'm like, dang, that's Paris. It's a whole extra foot of Paris that I didn't think was gonna be there, y'all. So yeah, and you heard that he said that he's dating right now, and he is above 6 feet tall. So, ladies, if you're gonna submit an application,
We're just here to have a good time. You know what I mean? Peace and love to everybody out there.
all right, all right. And then one last gem. Notice what he said, you guys. Beyonce is one of his influences. He wouldn't put it out there, but I'm gonna put it out there. That last Renaissance album, you see how she did y'all with those visuals. That's because Big Paris taught her. He was like, hey B, So this is what I need you to do. Release the album. We're gonna wait a couple years. We're gonna go through some things. We're gonna grow through some things. And then we're gonna go ahead and release these visuals on the flip side.
Right.
So you heard it here first.
No
Beyonce got
shame in
that from
my
Paris
game,
Song.
right? Let me show you one more thing that I want to share. All right.
This like watching the episode of Blues Clues, y'all. I be excited with y'all, like what he about to bring back.
All right. Now
Is
I
it a
told you
kidney?
earlier that Alicia Keys is my favorite artist, and Beyonce is a big influence. I don't have anything of Eminem yet, but he is my favorite rapper. But right here is Alicia Keys' vinyl for my favorite album of all time. And the only way I'm opening this is when I meet her and someone records us of us opening it together and her signing it. And this right here is me going to see the Renaissance. Because like I said, inside of the inside of the podcast, that I was once an introvert. I didn't really go to no type of concerts, movies, or nothing like that. I recently just went to her concert in Webster Hall, and I went to go and see the Renaissance movie. So yes, I am definitely a big fan of these two.
All right. So look, when we clip that, y'all be doing y'all thing on the internets and on the internets with an S. Go ahead and make sure at Alicia Keys, go ahead and get that clip so we can make it happen for your mans out here. All right. You
Please
know, that'll
do.
be a highlight reel all together if y'all do the thing from the Everybody Can't Go camp. Everybody that is a Paris Summer fan, all of y'all go out there. Y'all seen, yeah, I know y'all did it for Meek and y'all got him to Ross. Go ahead and get Paris Simon to Alicia for us out here. You know, it's
Please
just gonna make
do.
me happy because I love it when y'all happy.
I'm one
So
step closer. It's definitely going to happen. I feel it.
all right, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and pouring into our listeners, my listeners, your listeners that's gonna come over here and find the video. And we will make sure in the show notes for you guys, you all will be able to click and follow Paris Sama and also find the links for some of his videos and some of the music that he has out now. And if you can't wait,